I'm sure as hell not a master. I'm pretty sure I'm not even a beginner because at least they have luck. What's up guys, I'm Caleb Everett and this is A Month to Master, where for the next 30 days, I'm going all in on mastering the art of fishing. As you can see from the intro there, I haven't had the greatest success this week.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
However, I am pretty sure I can diagnose why that is. Let's get into it. Day 4 of my 40 days, I did, well, nothing. Well, not exactly nothing, just you'll see what I'm talking about. It is day 4. I went off-roading with my buddy Mehdi here from Foregone Trails. Since I was not able to go fish, I am gonna stay true to tying a fishing knot while he drives his Jeep off-road. This is not gonna be fun. I imagine it will hurt. Since I'm not able to fish today, I figure this is a better punishment than anything else. So here we go. I feel like if I can tie this knot while taking this trail, we're good to go on knots, you know? So we're gonna find out. I'm ready, brother. I don't think that this is gonna get any easier. Okay. Okay. Ow. Get shot. Got a little bit there. Come on. Son of a... Time. Not tied. Look at that. As you can see, I wasn't able to fish on day 4. I feel like I've already failed you guys. I'm sorry. But I do feel super confident on my improved clinch knot. However, based on the comments I've received, I am gonna add the Palomar or the polymer knot to my repertoire. Palomar? That doesn't sound right. And I am currently practicing it. I am gonna keep practicing the improved clinch knot as well, just because I wanna be well-rounded with multiple knots. I don't wanna just have one. But with the recommendations I've received, and honestly the research that I've done, the polymer knot seems like an extremely versatile knot, and it would be stupid for me not to know it. So I'm definitely gonna add that as well. Thank you guys for that. Day 5, lures and rigs. At the end of the last video, on day 3, that's when I actually started jumping into lures and different lure types and things like that. I researched a ton. I started feeling super confident. I mean, dangerously confident. Watching other YouTubers who were like, I use the Space Monkey Hog watermelon and rip lips all day. So I decided to take my confidence to Cabela's to buy a few lures. Then I got there. All my confidence gone. I immediately started seeing lures with info I had no clue about. I asked the store associate for information and he asked me, well, what type of rig are you fishing? And I was like, rig? No, I'm fishing, not driving a semi-truck. Clearly, I didn't understand what he meant, so I came home and decided to research rigs. And oh my God, there are so many. Thankfully, I did find a website that breaks down basic rigs for bass fishing. I will leave the link in the description if that's something you guys want to check out. The main rigs that I've been focusing on is the Texas rig, the Wacky rig, and the Carolina rig. So once I had rigs figured out, I went back to Cabela's and picked up some soft plastic bait. Also, this angle, I'm squatting right now and my legs are on fire. Oh, so far my favorite rig has been the Texas rig, not necessarily because of success, but honestly because of ease of setup. You could argue that the Wacky rig is much easier to set up because it is. However, it's just the chance of it getting hung up is way too high. I keep getting the things hung up. I do know that you can use a smaller hook, but that means I have to go buy more hooks. And so for me, for now, the Texas rig just makes the most sense. I am trying spinnerbait, crankbait, and topwater as well, but I've seen no success with them. I have seen no success, like period. So what are you gonna do? Now, something did happen on day 5 and on day 6 that made me feel confident yet dumb at the exact same time. I got bites, but I didn't catch them. Oh. Now, my hypothesis as to why this is 2 reasons. One is I just got way too antsy and didn't let the fish take the lure all the way. The second reason, which definitely confirms that I'm still a beginner, is I didn't set the hook. Day 6, setting the hook and drag. Once the fish started fighting me, I assumed I had the fish caught. I was reeling it in and really hyping myself up at this point, but sadly, because I didn't set the hook, The reason you want to set the hook is so it's secure in the fish's mouth, or in a bass's case, in its jaw, most of the time. Now, going down the rabbit hole of why you should set your hook, it also brought to my attention the importance of setting your drag. I will say in this particular instance, this wasn't as important because I didn't set the hook, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Afterwards, when I was checking my drag, it was all the way tight. So if this fish would have been a substantial size and I had set the hook, once it started fighting me, there's still a good chance I would have lost it because I would have snapped the line. You want to make sure that your drag is set to where if the fish pulls hard enough, the reel rotates backwards, letting line out. So make sure to add that to your pre-fishing checklist. Set your drag. Day 7, where and when to fish. Now, I'll be the first to admit that day 7's a little late in the game to really be understanding when and where to fish. Totally understand that. And I did kind of already know that knowledge going into this, so I've kind of just glossed over it. However, I do think it's super important to talk about in this series. Ignore the fact that it's day 7. It is something you should know day 1, day 2, day 3. However, for the sake of this video today, it is day 7. Bear with me. The key takeaways you're going to want to have from this is that early in the morning and in the evening are going to be your best time to fish. The middle of the day, the sun bearing down on the water causes the water temperature to rise, and most of the time fish will go into deeper waters, which makes them less likely to be hitting your lure. Or you could be like me and they just don't hit your lure at all. So, do with that what you will. And this is obviously an overgeneralization, but you get it. Also, where to fish. When you're fishing any kind of body of water that has banks or shoreline, you want to target areas that are different than like the straight shoreline. Things like laydowns, trees offering cover, inlets, peninsulas, the elbows of the body of water. Basically, try to imagine where the fish are hiding. Day 8, proper hook size. Okay, so the hook is broken down into 7 parts. The eye, the shank, the bend, the barb, the point out, the gap, which is in between the point and the shank, and then the throat, which is between the bend and the gap. And you don't need to know all the parts of the hook, but I am trying to master this, so I'm trying to learn anything and everything that I can. For bass fishing, if you are using a lure that doesn't already have a hook on it, and you're setting up a rig like a Texas rig or a Carolina rig, the hook size you're gonna wanna go with is gonna be anywhere between a 1/0 to a 4/0. I'm using 2/0 hooks, but I'm clearly still a beginner, so I wouldn't take my recommendation to heart just yet. Day 9, rod action. On my last video, I got this comment right here, which I am so incredibly appreciative of. I have to say, it truly opened my eyes to how much of a newbie I still am at this stuff. So I made it my goal to try to understand some of what this comment means, starting with the action. Basically, the rod's action, as I understand it, is where the rod bends when pressure is applied to it. The different types of actions include heavy, medium, and light. Depending on the brand, they might be something different. Like instead of heavy and medium, it might be fast and slow. But for the sake of what I'm doing, just know that I focused on a medium to moderate action because I'm just now learning about action and these are the rods I already own. However, for using a Texas rig or for really any soft plastic bait type of setup, I'd probably go with a fast action. And again, guys, I know that was an extremely oversimplified version of action because action can really affect how well you set the hook, how far you can cast the rod. And speaking of how far you can cast the rod, let's jump into day 10, rod length. For rod length for me, I'm going with 6.5 feet to 6 feet because, like I said earlier, I already owned them before I learned about them, so now I know. But here are a few things you should know about rod length. The longer the rod, the farther you're gonna be able to cast it, and it's gonna help with your accuracy. The rod length is also something to consider based on the type of lure you're using. Like if you're using a spin bait or a crankbait, you might want a longer rod, mainly because if it's a lure that's intended to cover a large area, you're gonna wanna be able to throw it out farther. Now, if you're fishing near cover or near docks or something like that, you're probably gonna wanna go with a shorter rod. If you're doing like me and you're primarily leaning into soft plastic bait, you're probably gonna wanna do a rod length of anywhere from 6 to 7 feet. It just happens to be that that's the rod length I already have. And honestly, the more I learn about this stuff and I look at the stuff that I have, that is deeply swaying the kind of rig that I'm using, primarily because I want to set myself up for success. Every day, I'm getting closer and closer to mastering fishing. I'm obviously not catching a lot of fish. I apologize for that. I definitely want to do that. And I still have 20 days ahead of me to make that happen. But I will say my confidence level when I'm walking up to the shoreline is through the roof. Regardless of whether I'm catching anything, I know how to tie my hook, I know how to set my rigs, I know how to put myself in the best situation statistically to catch something. Now, if only I could do that so that my results would verify my research, that would be fantastic. If fishing is a hobby you are also looking to get into, be sure to hit that subscribe button to follow along with this series. And then if hobbies in general are something you're wanting to learn about, please leave a comment down below letting me know some of the other hobbies you'd like to see me master within 30 days, and I will look forward to trying them. Again, guys, if you could like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff, it helps me with the YouTube algorithm, and I would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, keep your hook sharp.